It's been a while since we've last seen him, but Lightskin Sherlock Holmes is finally back in action. Lightskin Sherlock Holmes spends his days, spends his nights, pouring all of his blood, sweat, and tears investigating some of the world's biggest and most notorious unsolved mysteries. He absolutely does not miss, and most recently went on a successful investigative streak, solving a number of unsolved cases. The past few months, he has been in Cancun, kicking it with Tupac and Michael Jackson on a vacation, sipping pina coladas on the beach, but it is time to ditch the sand, pick up our notepad, and get to work. TikTok's most disturbing mystery. Dude, if something's the most disturbing on TikTok, I'd say that's pretty disturbing. I'd say that's pretty fucking disturbing.
She feels like a real baby. That's because she has tiny bones inside.
Ew.
February 2022. An urban explorer makes his way down a long-forgotten dirt road.
February 2022? Dude, this was literally like 4 days ago. What the hell?
2022. An urban explorer makes his way down a long-forgotten dirt road somewhere in rural China. His ultimate destination was a dilapidated structure shrouded in mystery for both him and all others in the region, with many referring to it simply as a laboratory. But what kind of laboratory was completely unknown. This did little to deter the man. In fact, the mystique of this building made the location even more tantalizing, as it would make for the perfect setting for a video on his TikTok page, perhaps the one that would finally thrust him into the public eye. And as he walked down that old dirt road, he believed that each step was taking him closer and closer to uncovering that building's original purpose. But what he'd find in that old laboratory wouldn't be answers. In fact, he would be left with far more questions, as the video he would go on to post would leave hundreds of thousands of people horrified, disturbed, and in many cases, scarred for life. With the clip setting off what may very well be the darkest mystery
he found a box set to friends,
and perhaps one of the most disturbing in the entire history of the internet. Before we fully get into things here, do you have any idea
box set of Friends, dude? The most horrifying, fucking disturbing thing you could watch as a human.
Sponsor Rocket Money. Rocket Money is an all-in
Rocket Money.
That I've been using 3.
You think I got money?
In the world of internet oddities and mysteries, this one is probably the most unique, as the contents of this mystery involve videos that can barely be broadcast in any capacity, due to just how disturbing they are. And although I'm sure some of you will be disappointed that the videos themselves are not shown in their entirety,
what the fuck are those stairs?
I can assure you that these clips are ones that you don't want to see. And on that note, let's go back to that old dirt road.
No, I love that. Thanks for the preface, Nick. Yeah, I promise that these are clips that you don't want to see, so I'm going to show you anyways.
Capacity, due to just how disturbing they are. And although I'm sure some of you will be disappointed that the videos themselves are not shown in their entirety, I can assure you that these clips are ones that you don't want to see.
You don't want to see these, so I'm going to just show you some of it.
To that old dirt road. The location was one of many examined by this explorer who goes under the name Beanbag Adventures on Douyin, the original Chinese version of TikTok. And for the sake of this video, his real name will not be disclosed.
Beanbag Adventures. That's creative.
So I'll just be referring to him as X.
As Beanbag?
X's channel features a multitude of creepy locations left to the mercy of time and isolation. But of all the places he would go on to visit, he could tell immediately that this one was going to be...
Okay. I also want to preface this video by saying, once again, I have said this so many times, and people, for whatever reason, still refuse to listen to me. Please, I'm begging you, stop walking in to abandoned fucking buildings. There is nothing good that you will find in an abandoned building. It has been abandoned for 150 years. If there was anything to find, it would have already been found. The only thing you are going to find in there is a crime scene or a crackhead. That is what you are going to find. Or you are going to wake up some slumbering demons that have been hibernating for thousands of years in that old abandoned church, and you've just awoken them, and they've now raised the forces of evil upon the innocent civilians of the world, dude. You have single-handedly caused the entire world to go dark because you want us to fucking TikTok views. Stop fucking doing this shit.
Different. As he entered the structure, he was greeted with an overwhelming stench that covered the building in its entirety. The mask he wore helped block out some of the smell, but not nearly enough to make it a pleasant experience. Noticing this, X immediately began to suspect that something was off, as he roamed the halls of the lab using the smell as a marker, following it to uncover its source. This led him past the first floor and down into the structure's basement, which consisted of old concrete rooms and tunnels, almost like some sort of fallout shelter. And as he passed by one room in particular...
So this guy walks into an abandoned building, he goes, it stinks in here. Let me go find it. Why? Like, what are you doing? If something stinks, it means something is wrong. That means something is there. When have you ever smelled something bad and it was good? It was a good thing. Nothing good smells bad besides cheese. And I don't think he walked in there and smelled fondue. So what the fuck are you doing?
He knew he had found the source of the stench, as the smell coming from its opening was nearly unbearable. But having come all this way, he decided to push on and enter the room, turning on his camera just a few minutes later to reveal what exactly he had discovered.
来吧，兄弟们想看的，地下实验室，心理承受能力强的朋友，随着镜头来。接下来大家所看到的一切物品。
As he enters the room, X shows a large pool-like structure lined with old pieces of wood, and as it comes into frame, he prefaces the discovery by saying that the contents within this pool are merely props from an old movie. He then proceeds to point the camera down inside, revealing thick green water,
Ew.
and floating within this water were what looked to be children, mere babies,
What?
and dozens of them
Hold on,
decaying
what?
in the water.
Wait, what?
In this water were what looked to be children, mere babies,
Excuse me?
and dozens of them decaying in the water. X then begins to gag and runs out of the room, shutting off the camera right before getting sick. The video is shocking, and as it made its way through the Douyin site, it was met with
The
mixed
fuck?
reactions. Many took X's word to heart, believing his explanation that the children were simply abandoned props left over from some movie that must have been shot there, while others called it an outright hoax, believing that X's
Abandoned
demeanor and
props,
the editing of
dude.
the
Yeah,
video
somebody. That is insane. That is insane, dude. Your poor baby has been missing for however many years. You hope to one day at least find the remains of your poor deceased child, and somebody's like, yeah, dude, it's a prop. It's a forgotten prop from a movie. That's fucked up.
video came
That's
across
kinda
as
fucked up.
disingenuous, before going on to assume that the explorer had just set it up himself. But within this crowd were a select few who were more concerned. The bodies looked so real, and each one appeared to be in different stages of decomposition. And that smell, if they were simply made of plastic and rubber, then why was that smell so unbearable to the point that X had gotten
They were
physically
real
sick
fucking
from it?
babies in that pool,
Following this
dude.
line of thinking, if somehow this were to be real, then that begs the question, what were all these bodies doing in an abandoned laboratory? Given what seemed to be their level of decomposition, it was clear that they hadn't been there for more than a few months, yet this structure has been left abandoned for decades, and you can tell as much.
So, what is this structure, though? Somebody has to know. There's got a building this big very clearly was used for something. It was used for the production of something. So there's got to be some record of what this building was used for. You know what I mean? some type of property lease, some type of deed. You know what I mean? I don't know how property works in China, but there's got to be some type of record of who owns this, what the building is for, you know what I'm saying, the history and shit. There's got to be something there.
Just by looking at the infrastructure. Due to this video having been posted in 2022, this automatically rules out the idea that this was part of China's one-child.
I picked a bad night to sleep in the living room. The back window is unlocked. The back window is unlocked. The back window is unlocked. Your back door is open.
Policy, as that was abolished back in 2015. Plus, that policy wouldn't have matched anyway, as some of the children seen in that water were, well, just that, children. None of them were infants, and some were even comparable in size to those as old as 5 or 6, which seems to immediately rule out this explanation. Digging into the video a bit deeper, a few others began to notice what they believe to be an off-putting detail, as directly after X states that the bodies in the pool were simply props, he then goes on to say that this video was going to be censored, and that you'll only ever see this from him. This prompted the theory that the movie prop line was just some sort of cover-up to allow the footage to be shown across domains.
Yeah, it just sounds like he said it was a prop for, like, TOS. You know? Like, I do that shit all the time. I do that shit all the time. You know what I mean? I say, oh yeah, dude, yeah, it's just a joke. I don't actually mean that. You know?
He could expose
I just say the most outlandish shit
in this old lab. Admittedly, some of these details are a bit bizarre, but despite all of this, the theory that these bodies were somehow real.
Why does he keep showing these creepy doll commercials?
Far-fetched speculation to say the least, as most would go on to assume the footage to be fake, carrying on with their lives and forgetting all about this bizarre video. And it wasn't just the viewers who seemed to immediately forget about this footage, as X himself would continue posting as usual immediately after this, making no mention of his discovery in that laboratory. And much like that laboratory, in the months that followed, X's video would soon be lost to time. Or at least this was the case, until December 26th, 2022, when X would once again
that was like 3 months ago, dude. 4 months ago.
Return to the strange room.
Like, dude, it's May.
兄弟们，防空洞里面那个实验室，一池子小孩。
In this bomb shelter lab.
今天我又来看一看，拍上点视频。胆小的勿看啊，记得注意细节。
This time, things within that tunnel were different. Upon entering, he would see strange bottles and tubes on the ground, which hadn't been there before, and as he approached the pool, he could now see children's clothing scattered all across the pathway, including a cap which would commonly be worn by a child. The pool itself was also slightly altered, as there was now a large blue tarp covering the majority of its surface, concealing its contents. However, at the far end was an opening, just large enough to reveal that those prop bodies from before were in fact still in there.
Okay. I'm thinking, my brain is working, my gears are spinning, dude. I think he posted that video and then somebody went back and put all that shit in there. Or he put all that shit in there.
Only this time, the idea of them being movie props was far less believable. It had been 10 long months since X had first peered into that pool, and now the bodies he once claimed to be from a movie set were far more decayed, to the point that not just the bodies were shown, but the bones within them as well. Skulls, ribs, hips were all on display, being revealed by the peeling of their rotten flesh, in a scene that looked all too realistic. So much so that X was now referring to them solely as dead bodies, as that level of detail would have been nearly impossible to fake. X then pulls out his phone and reveals the date and time, December 26th, 2022, 11:26 a.m., before turning to the exit and leaving in a hurry.
看时间啊，2022年12月26，兄弟们，这个味儿啊，我居然能挺住。
Right. I feel like if we can figure out what this building was for, we can figure out what the fuck was going on, dude. It's so hard because this building could be anything, you know? Like, I could say, I could have so many theories, but none of them would make sense if it, like, reveals what type of building it is, you know? Like, if you tell me exactly what this building was used for, I could tell you what that pool was and why there's kids in there. But I don't know what the hell's that building is, you know what I mean? He said it was a bomb shelter.
不知道说点什么。哎呀，这里还有这些药瓶子，拜拜了，哥走了。我去，这个臭啊！啊，拜拜拜拜拜拜，你没的。
The second video was far different from the first, as its validity is much harder to argue against. I obviously won't be showing it here, but the bodies were just too realistic. I honestly don't think they could have been faked, as even across all the big budget movies I've ever seen, no dead body props have ever come close to this level of realism, which makes it seem all the more unlikely that someone could have faked this just for a TikTok. And that sentiment was shared across the site almost universally. Rather than being a source of speculation like that first video, people were now left simply horrified, having likely witnessed the sight of a dozen dead children. And this wasn't the only major difference between the two clips either, with the most relevant coming from the contents of the video themselves. For starters, those bottles, clothing, and that tarp were all not there upon his first visit, meaning that whatever this pool was being used for, it was still being actively visited and worked on after that first video was made. And worst of all, the number of bodies shown in that water was significantly higher the second time around, meaning that whatever he had walked in on was still clearly actively happening. Despite this disturbing detail, this didn't stop X from returning just a few days later.
Why didn't you say
all the horrors of that old lab. And upon this third visit, he would follow that tunnel even deeper.
Why do you keep going back to this fuck-ass lab, dude? Why don't you set it on fire? Have you thought of that, dude? Take one for the team, dude. You know, an arson charge might be worth it.
This time finding two...
What are you doing?
Tubes with fetuses in them, skulls, and...
What?
Follow that tunnel even deeper, this time finding tubes with fetuses in them, skulls, and even a fully complete vertebrae, piled on top hundreds of other bones. He'd even uncover multiple large bags filled to the brim with even more skeletal remains. And what made this all the more confusing was that all these bones were from what seemed to be fully grown humans, meaning that within this abandoned building were bodies ranging from newborns to children all the way to adults. According to a few people across Reddit, X would make one more video in this laboratory, this time focusing a search on the upper levels of the building, revealing more bones seemingly belonging to children, as well as kids' toys and masks.
My initial theory is that this is an abandoned building and they're just now using it for dumping of dead bodies that don't have anybody to claim it, if that makes sense. Like, if somebody dies and they don't have any family to give them a funeral, to, like, bury him somewhere, to do something with the body, I feel like this is China, you know what I mean? Not to get all American here, not to get all fucking USA, American, bald eagle patriot here, dude. But China does some fucked up shit, right? China does some fucked shit, dude. We knew about the thing where it was like they could only have like a certain number of kids or something like that, and whether they had to be boys or some shit, dude. I don't know. All kinds of crazy shit, dude. All kinds of crazy shit that China does, right? We're all well aware of the shit that China does, dude. The shit that goes on there, right? I'm not getting all America patriotic anti-China, dude. But we know what happens there. They removed the one baby law. Yeah, but it was a thing at some point. My point is, China's fucked. They do some fucked shit. So I wouldn't put it past them if they were using this as just like a dumping ground. You know what I mean? Like, this building's abandoned. It's at the end of some fucking dirt road in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? It's the perfect location to just dump shit that nobody fucking cares about anymore. You know what I mean? Because where else are you gonna put all these bodies? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you could just, you know? So I feel like this is where they're just dumping, like, they're just dumping shit.
实验室的化学用剂，这里还有不明的液体，这里还发现了小孩子的面具，小时候的回忆，一张面具。
Yeah, see, each country has its own laws. So in China, they could just fucking do whatever, dude. I don't know how it works in China, but they could just be using this as like a dumping ground. You know what I mean? This year, they put Muslims, residents and Chinese Muslims in concentration camps. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, is these people that are in these concentration camps are probably dying. They're probably dying. It's a concentration camp, dude. It's not a fucking, it's not a Hilton. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a 5-star with room service, dude. It's a concentration camp. It's meant to be fucking terrible for you. So I think, what you're saying makes sense. Because they could be taking these people that are dying in these concentration camps and dumping them in this fucking building. They're forcing men and women to have their tubes cut so they can't ever have kids. See? That's what I'm saying. They could just be dumping all of the stuff in this fucking building. In this abandoned building.
这里还有一个皮箱，里面一直
This nugget of info, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
这个应该是
I think it's just some abandoned building. Dude, I'm not even done with the video and Lightskin Sherlock Holmes has solved it, dude. I think this is just some abandoned building and they're using it to dump. So, because they got nowhere else to put the shit, dude. So they're dumping it here. You know what I mean? Why is there a body of weird green water? Because it's an abandoned building. It rains and it probably leaked at some point, dude. That's probably some shit coming up from the broken sewer system. You know what I mean? Water in an abandoned building is not unusual. You know what I mean? And so they probably put them in the water because putting it in water speeds up decay, doesn't it? Like water, I don't know. I'm not a what are they called? An ME? The morgue guy? I don't know.
片子，在走廊东侧发现了一个特别的格局，这个房间
Mortician, that's what it is.
像是特别危险。
Does water speed up
医院的1楼、
decomposition?
2楼、3楼空空如也。
I think they said that in Law and Order once.
Verify if this location was the same or not, but it does appear similar enough to at least mention here. With that being said, we were left with 3 to 4 short videos, and so many questions, the most overarching of all being what the hell was happening in this laboratory. This question prompted numerous theories, one of the earliest being that a serial killer had been using this location to dump the many bodies of his victims. This would kind of make sense, as up until X had visited the building, it was virtually untouched for decades, making it the perfect place to commit heinous crimes far away from the public eye. But the main problem with this theory is the scale of it all. There were just too many bodies for it all to have been done by one person. Even a group of mass murderers would have a hard time amassing so many victims. And given the fact that most of these bodies seemed to belong to children, and the fact that they were disposed of in such a bizarre way, made many others begin to shift their beliefs towards other theories, with by far the most popular being that this location was being used as some sort of black market organ trade. This idea became a main focal point following the second video in particular, as many of the bodies shown had openings in their chest cavities, which revealed that they all seemed to lack any internal organs, prompting the belief that the kids were killed for their organs, perhaps in a medical facility somewhere else, and their bodies were dumped in this location afterwards, assuming that they would never be found. And in the minds of many, this wasn't just being done by some random group, and instead they believed it was being carried out by their country's own government.
What the fuck did I say?
No effective organ donation
What the fuck did I say, dude?
program. That's because culturally, Chinese people believe the body must stay intact even after death.
The organ trade in China is quite the rabbit hole.
The
but to
fuck
make
did
things
I
simple,
say?
China
I think they're harvesting the organs of these fucking concentration campers. These prisoners, dude. I think they're harvesting the organs, dude. And then they dump them.
has one of the lowest percentages of organ donors out of any major country. But despite this, it's somehow known as one of the easiest places to get an organ transplant, especially for wealthy individuals. People even travel there from other countries to get life-saving procedures, as transplants that could take years and years in the US can be done in China in the matter of weeks, as long as the money is right. Which begs the question, where do these organs come from? Well, in recent years, China has been caught executing prisoners that were not sentenced to death simply in order to use their organs in this trade.
What did I say, dude? What did I say? They're doing it with the... Dude.
All because of the staggering amount of money
so
that
good
can
at
be
what
raised
I
per
do.
procedure. And though this practice works for adults, there is one thing that these prisons don't have. Children.
Yeah, you know what
when a
does? The
child needs
concentration
an
camps.
organ, let's say one of a high-ranking official or a wealthy member of Chinese society, where do they turn? This idea has prompted the belief that China has been doing some shady things to obtain these organs, like perhaps kidnapping and killing innocent children, simply to use their organs and save other wealthy children in order to gain a massive profit. Now, I have to say that this is not a fully confirmed theory by any means, but it is a fairly common belief, even among members of China's own population. And because of this, X's 4 videos prompted outrage across social media, with many calling out the government for their involvement. And as soon as those fingers started to point, the case took a drastic turn. On the morning of January 15th, the Beanbag Adventure channel would disappear from the Douyin site.
It got fucking clapped!
Which honestly...
Oh, what a guest! Oh, what a guest, dude! This man has could have potentially, possibly have exposed some evil doings by the Chinese government. And what happens? His page gets fucking nuked into smithereens. Who would have thought? Who would have guessed?
Comes as little surprise. X had shown his face all over these videos and was clearly not shy about exposing this lab. And with so many people now blaming the government, it was only a matter of time before he was silenced. In fact...
Dude, and that was something I was hearing too. Again, this is not the USA, America, bald eagle, rock and roll, fucking... That's not... Dude. But I heard that during the whole thing between... It was like the Republic, the People's Republic of China, the CCP, right? The CCP, and then like the civilians or something, and the civilians were like protesting or rebelling against the government, and people that were like speaking out against the government were like fucking getting arrested and fucking assassinated and shit. I don't know how true that is. That could just be some fucking weird anti-China shit that people are, you know, telling me. But, you know, it makes fucking, like, this makes sense, you know? Like, this guy is basically a whistleblower. Basically, he's a Fed. And now they're doing something about it. You know what I mean? Which I think makes it even more shady. I think it makes it even more shady.
X himself even foresaw this happening all the way back in that first clip. Unsurprisingly, when X's account went dark, many immediately began to fear the worst, believing that he was not only silenced on social media, but silenced altogether, likely being thrown in a prison somewhere.
Yeah,
or
I think
just
they did it in
killed
Singapore
outright.
too.
Because of this, X was hailed as a hero for risking his life to show the world what was truly
Fucking
happening.
beanbag,
there.
dude.
Most believed that this would be the last time we would ever hear from X again. But
beanbag.
as it turns out, something much stranger would happen from here. Just a few days after its removal, the Beanbag Adventure account would re-emerge.
Oh my God!
This time with all 4 of these videos missing. And even more bizarrely, he just continued uploading videos from there, going to different locations and making that same content he once did before stumbling across that lab. Despite the massive virality of the story, not once has he ever acknowledged any of his previous findings. And if you look at his page today, you would never know that just a few months before, he had the entire nation in an uproar.
They threatened his dumbass.
The whole situation.
They threatened his dumbass. They said, yeah, if you ever go there again or post another video, we'll kill you and your whole family. And she's like, okay, I won't go back. And so he's just doing his own thing now.
Is incredibly off-putting. And who knows what happened to X during that time his account went down. But whatever it was,
they deleted his shit and they're like, look, you can keep doing what you're doing, but you're not doing it with this building. And he's like, whatever. And so they gave him his channel back, but they deleted those videos from that specific building. But all the other ones can stay.
Frightened him enough to never speak of this abandoned building again. For many, this behavior confirmed their suspicion that the government was somehow involved in whatever the activity was happening within this structure. While for others, this confirmed that this was all somehow staged. As if it were real, the chances of X being alive right now would seem to be rather unlikely. Plus, within all his exposés of this lab, he never actually revealed where it was, causing doubt in the minds of a select few. But if I'm being honest, I just don't believe that those bodies could have possibly been faked. Though due to the nature of cases like this in China, a true answer has never and likely will never be fully revealed.
I just gave you the full answer.
Nothing more than speculation, and a mystery far darker than any we've ever delved into.
Okay, so saying it's fake and he staged it, yeah, that's the easy answer. Okay, that's the easy cop-out answer, dude. Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what it is, dude. Lightskin Sherlock Holmes is about to lay the fucking fact down, all right? China's got concentration camps with prisoners and captees ranging from infants all the way up to old people, adults, fully grown human beings, okay? Those people die in these concentration camps due to the poor treatment and terrible conditions. Because they're in a concentration camp, they can't just be buried at any old fucking funeral home. So the government's like, fuck, dude, we gotta get rid of these bodies somehow so that we could put more people into these prisons. So this abandoned building, which is probably government property, it's probably a government building, or it was, they're like, let's use this building and dump all of the bodies in there. That's why there's a tarp in there. That's why there's bodies always constantly new bodies being thrown in there. That's why it looks like people keep visiting there, because they're constantly bringing shipments of dead bodies. They harvest the organs of them, right? Can you harvest organs once somebody dies? Do we have any scientists and organ harvesters? Can anybody confirm? Because I feel like once the person dies at the camp, they get their organs taken and then their body gets sent to the building and then dumped in the building. And then the organs are used for whatever the organs are used for. You know what I mean? There you go. Boom. There's the answer. Lightskin Sherlock Holmes, first case back. Gave you an answer. Case closed, baby.